It was a cold autumn morning in the city of Denver. The streets were just beginning to wake up, filled with the noise of cars, coffee carts, and people rushing to wherever they needed to be. Among the early commuters was a man named Ryan. 32 years old, well-dressed in a sharp navy blue suit, carrying a leather briefcase, he looked like every other successful young professional. He worked as an assistant manager at a mid-sized corporate firm, climbing his way up in life, one hard-earned promotion at a time. He had dreams, just like anyone else. A better apartment, a more secure future, maybe even a family someday. But today, something was going to happen that would define the kind of man he truly was. As he waited at the crosswalk near the bustling intersection on 8th and Main, Ryan noticed a beggar sitting on the sidewalk. The man was old, covered in layers of mismatched, worn-out clothes. His face was tired, wrinkled with years of harsh living, and his eyes were what caught Ryan's attention the most. They weren't asking for pity. They weren't desperate. They just looked tired. The kind of tired that doesn't come from a lack of sleep but from a lack of kindness. The man held a small cardboard sign that read, "Anything helps. God bless." Most people walked past him as if he was invisible. Some even turned their faces away like his presence was offensive. A group of teenagers nearby stood laughing, mocking the man behind his back. One of them tossed an empty coffee cup at him, and another shouted, "Get a job, loser." Ryan looked at them, stunned. He felt a pang of anger rise in his chest. But instead of confronting the boys, he stepped toward the old man. He crouched beside him and asked, "Hey, have you eaten anything today?" The man shook his head, almost embarrassed. "Not since yesterday morning. I tried, but the shelters were full." Ryan didn't say a word. He opened his wallet and handed the man a $20 bill. "There's a diner down the street. Get yourself a hot meal." The man's eyes widened, and his lips trembled. "God bless you, son." "Thank you." Ryan smiled, patted his shoulder, and turned to walk away. But the group of teens who had been mocking the beggar had been watching Ryan. One of them, a tall boy with a red hoodie, laughed loudly. "Dude, are you serious? You just gave $20 to a bum? What, you trying to win some karma points?" Ryan paused. He looked at them, disappointment in his eyes. "Maybe you should try it sometime. The world needs more compassion, not judgment." That only made the boys laugh harder. "Man, you're an idiot," one of them shouted. "He's probably going to buy booze with it." Ryan didn't respond. He walked away, his heart heavy but his conscience clear. Later that afternoon, Ryan was at the office. It was a hectic day. He had a big presentation for the board, and his nerves were on edge. He needed everything to go smoothly because his boss, Mr. Carrington, had hinted at a possible promotion if things went well. Ryan had stayed up all night perfecting his pitch, rehearsing every slide, every line. This was his moment. But just 15 minutes before the meeting, disaster struck. His laptop crashed. Just shut down completely. The files he needed weren't backed up, and his thumb drive? It was sitting on his kitchen counter at home. Panic set in. He ran to the IT department, but they were swamped and wouldn't be able to fix it in time. He stood outside the boardroom, pale and shaking. He could already imagine the disappointment in his boss's eyes. He had failed. All because of one small, forgotten step. That's when a young man from the maintenance crew, someone Ryan barely knew, approached him. "Hey, I saw you looking stressed." "Everything okay?" the man asked. Ryan explained his situation, voice tight with anxiety. The young man smiled and said, "Actually, I think I can help." Turns out, this man was doing night school in computer science and loved fixing tech problems as a side hustle. Within 10 minutes, he managed to retrieve the presentation from the crashed hard drive using one of his own tools. Ryan was stunned. He barely even knew this guy's name. "How can I repay you?" Ryan asked, almost breathless with relief. The young man just shrugged. "No need. I saw what you did this morning. Ryan blinked, confused. What do you mean? I was on my coffee break, across the street, he said. I saw you give that homeless guy some money. And I saw those punks laugh at you. That was messed up. But you didn't back down. I figured anyone who treats a stranger with that much kindness deserves a break. Ryan stared at him. Speechless. Something shifted in his chest. He walked into the boardroom, delivered the presentation flawlessly, and impressed everyone. Mr. Carrington stood up at the end, applauding. This is exactly the vision we needed, he said. Ryan, you just made your future a lot brighter. By the end of the week, Ryan was promoted to senior manager. A significant raise came with it, along with new responsibilities and his own office. His life had just taken a leap forward. But something inside Ryan had changed. That one act of kindness, the one that had been mocked and laughed at, had come full circle. Not because he wanted anything in return, but because the world has a way of noticing the things we do when we think no one is watching. But the story doesn't end there. 2 weeks later, Ryan saw the same group of teens who had mocked him before. This time, they were standing outside a shopping mall, looking distressed. One of them, the boy in the red hoodie, was holding his stomach, groaning in pain. Ryan, curious and concerned, approached them. Everything okay? He asked. The boys recognized him immediately and looked embarrassed. The one in pain muttered, I think I ate something bad. I can't even walk properly. Ryan noticed they looked pale, unsure of what to do. Instead of walking away, he offered to help. He drove them to the nearby urgent care clinic, paid for the consultation, and even stayed until the boy felt better. As they sat together, the boy looked at Ryan and finally said, I'm sorry for laughing at you that day. You were doing something good, and we were just being jerks. Ryan smiled. It's okay. Sometimes it takes a little pain to open our eyes. The boy nodded. You're a better man than I thought. Ryan shrugged. Being better isn't hard. It just takes a little heart. That experience changed those kids too. A few weeks later, Ryan passed by the same spot where the old beggar used to sit. This time, the bench was empty. But nearby, a small community fridge had been installed. It was stocked with sandwiches, fruit, and bottled water. A sign read, Take what you need. Give if you can. And standing next to it? The same boy in the red hoodie, handing out food with two of his friends. When he saw Ryan, he smiled and waved. Ryan didn't need to say anything. He just smiled back and kept walking. Because he knew. Kindness is contagious. Even when people laugh at it. Even when it feels like the world doesn't notice. Because sometimes, karma doesn't wait a lifetime. Sometimes, it works instantly. And sometimes, all it takes is one person to show that helping others is never foolish. You see, the world will always have two kinds of people. Those who laugh when someone shows compassion. And those who choose to help anyway, even if the world is watching. Which one will you be? Thank you for staying with us through this story.